Hey guys, this is Apple Gamer 24/7. I'm here to give you guys a review today of the Samsung Galaxy Nexus for Verizon Wireless. I had this phone in my house for about a few weeks now, and I had the opportunity to review it, so I took them up on that, and I said, why not give you guys a little bit of a special treat and review a phone that is not an iPhone. So the first thing I'm going to do in this review, I have it broken down into a few sections. This review might be a little bit longer than my reviews normally are, but just to go over everything in detail and just to give my full thoughts and opinions. I'm going to go over the design and build quality, the screen, the camera, performance and benchmarks, and of course, ice cream sandwich. So I'm going to try to cover all that within, I would say, about maybe 10 to 15 minutes. So enough of me talking, let's get started with this review. So the first thing I do want to cover is the design and build quality. And right off the bat, I do have to say this phone does look very nice, but don't let the pictures deceive you. This phone feels very cheap in the hands. The battery cover feels excruciating cheapness. It makes this phone feel like it was made quickly and there was a rush to production. So I do have to say, this was very cheaply designed, especially going over the battery cover. Even the battery cover is hard to get on and off. Usually the battery cover sits flush with the device, but since the way this battery cover is designed, it comes off very easily, which I'll probably talk about in the next few minutes. It's hard to hold with one hand, especially with me because I have small hands, and this device feels too big. If you had bigger hands, I guess it would be okay, but for me with my small hands, it does feel too big. It's also hard to hold with one hand. I do notice that if you're trying to like type or do something with one hand, I found the phone slipping down out of your hand a lot. So I do recommend if you're really use this phone to use it with two hands. That's just the way I recommend. I hate the placement of the buttons. The power button is actually right here on the side. You probably can't see it, but it's right here. So the power button's right there. That's how you like the device on and off from sleep. I really don't like this. I prefer it on the top like the iPhones are because I'm used to that. But this is kind of annoying because if I'm trying to get my phone out quickly, I'm trying to like turn it on, I'm trying to touch the screen, or I was using a physical button at the top to wake the phone up. But no, you have to use the side button. It's kind of hard to do if you're in like a rush to get your phone out or do something. What else can I say here? I also noticed that the phone does get warm pretty quickly. So if you're gonna play a lot of games or watch a lot of movies on it, that's something to keep in mind. I would definitely look into getting like a case, but if you're gonna use your phone bare, I do recommend you use a case. Now going over the battery door, this is probably my biggest complaint about this phone design I could probably ever say. It does not, it comes off easily, but to put it back on is a nightmare. Inside the battery cover, you get your Samsung battery and your Verizon LTE SIM card. But to get the battery cover on and off, I'll try to do this on camera for you guys. But this is going to be kind of difficult because you have to place your phone. The next feature I'm going to talk about now is the screen. This is a 4.65-inch OLED screen, and I do have to say I really do like my Retina display a lot better. This is nothing to the Galaxy Nexus or against the Galaxy Nexus. This is just with OLED panels in general. OLED screens tend to have a bluish hue to them, which I do notice a lot. Everything just looks a lot more blue, and I'm really used to having a Retina display on my device, so things just look really clear and just really sharper. And looking at this, it does look a bit more bluer. Now, the screen resolution is supposed to be a 1280 by 720, being 720p display. Now, I'm kind of wondering because I did run benchmarks on the phone. I ran the quadrant test, and the quadrant app gave me a resolution of 720 by 1148. I don't know if things are backwards in that app or if the app just needs updating to match the screen resolution. But essentially, what that app is telling me is that I have more pixels and better resolution on my Retina display, and I'm able to fit this resolution and this resolution screen on my iPhone 4S and still have extra pixels left over. So I am wondering if it has the 720p resolution, but according to the tech specs online, it does say it has a 720p resolution, so I'm gonna stick with that. I find the display, especially these touch and areas down here, like the touch sensitive buttons with ice cream sandwich, very unresponsive. I found that the screen, this isn't that responsive against my iPhone. I found my iPhone to be a little bit more responsive, and especially when I'm typing really fast, I find the screen doesn't recognize all my taps on the keyboard. So I do see that this display is just a little unresponsive to my liking. That might not be the case with other people. That's just in my testing. I found the screen to be unresponsive. Also, these touch sensitive ice cream sandwich buttons. I know that has nothing to do with the display at all, but these I find that are unresponsive, and I wish they were physical buttons. And because they're attached to this display, they take away screen real estate, which is important on this type of device, because if you're watching movies or something, which these buttons go away, but I figured if you had physical buttons, you could allow more screen real estate to the operating system and not have to waste space with these three little buttons down here. So that's just my thing on the screen. But overall, the screen is good for playing games and watching movies and doing stuff like that. Let's talk about the cameras. The Galaxy Nexus has a 5 megapixel camera on the back, and I think it's a 1.2 megapixel camera. I think it's right about there, in case you guys are wondering. I really couldn't test them. I'll be honest with you guys, I could not test these cameras at all. I found the cameras to be unresponsive. If I would press on the camera button, maybe I would do it now for you guys, but if I would open the camera app on the Galaxy Nexus, it would sometimes, if I would have tapped a picture, sometimes it would just freeze like this, and then I really don't know what to do. So I really couldn't, test this camera out. I really couldn't give it a fair review. So, if you guys have any pictures or something, if you have a Galaxy Nexus and you want to tell me, what you guys think, please leave it down below in the comment section. But I found this is really disappointing because Ice Cream Sandwich has a lot of good camera enhancements into it, and you can take panoramic shots. But I really couldn't test that. I'll show you guys because I found that the camera on the back was unresponsive. Alright guys, this is going to be the performance part of the review. Now, I did run the quadrant test on this phone. I really haven't used the quadrant test before because I really haven't done any cell phone benchmarking test. But I'm going to give you guys the raw quadrant score, and you guys can put this in your own context because I really don't know. The quadrant score that I got for this particular phone was 1987. I'll put that number down somewhere in the video right now in case you guys want to Google it or do something in the Quadrant app on your own Android device to see how that benchmarks. But I don't really know, so I'm going to give you guys the full technical specs of the Galaxy Nexus. I know I said a few of them already, but for those that just are wondering, I will give you guys the full rundown starting now. As a 4.65-inch OLED display with a dual-core processor, 4G LTE ran by good old, Verizon Wireless, as you can see right there. Verizon Wireless is powering the 4G LTE. You can also get it unlocked on a GSM carrier. I do know it works with AT&T and T-Mobile in the States. Android 4.0 Ice Cream Sandwich, 5 megapixel camera on the front, a front-facing 1.3 megapixel camera, and that's just about it for all I got that you guys probably do care about. Overall, when I was using the phone, testing apps, playing games, doing some web browsing, checking email, I found the phone pretty fast, and that's pretty good if you're working on the go, if you're doing documents or something. But I did find the phone pretty fast, and I did find it on par with my iPhone 4S. So that's something to keep in mind. But I do have to say the battery life in this phone is so god awful. It makes me, it kind of, I'd rather have better battery life than a bigger screen. That's just the way I look at it. But the battery life is so terrible. I think I can only get maybe 3 hours of 4G and maybe 5 to 6 hours on Wi-Fi. But my iPhone 4S lasts days without charging. I was able to take my iPhone 4S maybe about 2 or 3 days without charging and still had maybe about 45%. I was able to do most of the stuff I was doing on my phone regularly. Check email, web browse, go on Facebook, Twitter, take pictures, take videos, play games. I do all that stuff on my iPhone 4S, but I still have greater battery life, and it goes on for days. This I have to charge every single hour because the battery life is so terrible. I do recommend, because it has this battery door, buying some extra batteries and just keeping those in your bag, because you will need them if you're going to be using this phone as your daily driver. So that's one thing I do keep in mind. Other things that will sort of like make your battery drain is brightness. I like to have a bright screen. That's something that might drain my battery down, but I do like having a bright screen. So if you're looking to get the Galaxy Nexus, maybe take it down to maybe halfway. But it's definitely good to have some extra batteries for you. Alright guys, now we're going to be reviewing Android 4.0 Ice Cream Sandwich, the software portion of the Galaxy Nexus. And I do have to say, after using the Galaxy Nexus, using my iPhone, and using my iPad, I do have to come to the conclusion that Steve Jobs was actually really right on this one. The Android operating system, in my opinion, and after using the iPhone and iPad as long as I do have to agree that Android is fragmented. It's very disconnected from other Android makers and other Android distributions. It's not, everything's not the same as it should be. Um, the one thing I do have to say about Ice Cream Sandwich is I hate these touch sensitive buttons down here, the back, home, and multitasking buttons. I absolutely hate these buttons to death. I wish these were physical buttons, because I just like physical buttons better, and like I said in the screen portion, they take away from the screen real estate. So you are wasting screen real estate with these buttons. I wish they were actually physical buttons. They take up screen, like I said. Apps are not customized to run on this hardware. Most of these apps, I'm just thinking, either Google or whoever makes these apps just took the 3.5 inch or the normal screen size, the standard screen size, if there is a standard, and took these apps and stretched them out to fit the 4.65 inch display. These apps look very stretched out. They look pixelated. They don't look. They're optimized for the hardware, which is kind of disappointing, because Google is sort of like touting that this display is 720p, and I think with that marketing, I think it should come across to the developers, and they should really take advantage of the screen real estate here, but they didn't, which is disappointing. So some apps look very distorted, and they don't look as well as they should. There's no resizing of apps. If you have an app that's tailored to a different screen size, like I had an app on here, I forget what it's called, but it was tailored to maybe a 3.5 inch screen, or possibly somewhere around there, and it just wouldn't size. It was be like right in the middle here, have black lines on it. The app looked terrible, and it didn't respond well at all on this hardware. So apps are not optimized for the screen real estate and the hardware, but they're also not optimized for the operating system as well, because these buttons need to be programmed so they go away when you're using an app that takes a lot of the screen or watching a video. But for those apps that don't program to do that, are gonna experience these buttons get in the way of their app. The UI looks very confusing to the average consumer as soon as you add widgets. Widgets, in my opinion, add confusion to the user interface. I think I like the iPhone method. Every function has an app, so you use apps to do that function. I don't really see the need for widgets in my use, but that might be different from other people. That's maybe a personal preference. But I do think the UI does get a little confusing with with the widgets once you start adding widgets. You need to like Google, and you need to use the Google services to take advantage of the phone. I barely even use Google services. The most I use is Google Docs and Gmail, and that's just about it. If you use Google Plus or Google Navigation or Google Maps and you use those on a daily basis, definitely pick up the Google devices like the Nexus. But if you don't, definitely pick up some other Android phones, or go to an iPhone, or go to a Windows phone. But I do recommend, if you're gonna pick up the Nexus, make sure you use a lot of Google products, because these are what these phones are made for. They're made for the integration of the Google products. Um, there needs to be a better app update system. I'm so used to how apps are updated on iOS, and just like if there's an app update, basically what you do is you go to the App Store and you download the app. What happens here is that you would have to go to your notifications bar up top, and it would tell you how many apps you have. I cleared that for the purpose of this video. but I wish there was a better updating system for the App Store on here. This is very hard for the average consumer to use. My dad, this is his phone. He let me borrow this for a review, and he says that this phone is very hard for him to use, and he's not really the most tech savviest person ever. So it is very hard for him. So I wish Google would make things a little bit easier. Maybe have a few more tutorial videos while you're setting up the phone. And if you're experienced, there should be a skip button right there. So all you can do is hit the skip button as many times as you want, and you can start playing with the phone for yourself. Also, I do see that privacy and is a big issue on this phone as well. Actually had when I was setting up this phone, I had to connect to my Gmail, and all of a sudden it downloaded all my pictures from Google Plus, and I never told it to do that. So I think privacy is a big issue. I would like to have a warning that says it will be downloading all pictures from Gmail or something, just to let me know that my pictures were there. But it kind of shocked me when my phone downloaded all these pictures from Gmail without my knowing. So it was kind of freaky to experience that. And also security needs to be updated. Like I've been reading the past couple of days on the internet, there's been some security bugs, and Android has a lot of viruses. So there definitely needs to be a security update. And that concludes my Galaxy Nexus review. Now, guys, my overall conclusion: I'm not against this phone. I think this is a very good phone if developers and Google take advantage of it. I'm disappointed that Google would just let the developers in their app store write apps and not have it optimized for these phones. But if you're a Google user and you like using Google products like Gmail, Google Docs, Google Plus, and all the other Google services, definitely pick up this phone. If you're also a tech savvy person, definitely check out this phone as well. If you're an ordinary person, I recommend something else. Get another Android phone that's out there. The Droid Razr is pretty user friendly. I've seen that. Also, the iPhones, like I've been mentioning this entire video, are really good phones. I've been using them for a long time, and they're very user friendly. Also, Windows phones are another option. So there's other options out there, but if you're an average consumer, don't go with the salesman's recommendation like my dad did and buy this Nexus. Definitely get something that you can use, and make sure you get something that you're happy with. So anyway, guys, that was my long review of the Samsung Galaxy Nexus. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I was stuttering a lot and I didn't know what to say, because the only reason is because I never reviewed an Android phone before. So if you guys have any recommendations for me to do other Android cell phone reviews in the future, just leave me some tips or something, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See you later.